The in-person elections in Peru were a complete mess, to the point that many people couldn't vote and many were talking about electoral fraud. Please listen to how people were shouting, "We want to vote." All of them were standing in line to exercise their right to vote and they couldn't. Just imagine the disaster. Here's what they're telling us. I am extremely worried about what is happening in the in-person elections in Peru, especially in Lima. Many people are not able to exercise their right to vote. 13% of polling stations in the capital have not been set up, leaving nearly 1 million unable to vote. The last election was decided by less than 50,000 votes. This is extremely serious. I ask the entire community to pay close attention to the situation. Wow. Just imagine how serious this is, guys. Please, let's see what people are saying.
Peru is experiencing electoral fraud. This video isn't about any political ideology, but about something much more important. The right of citizens to democratically choose their president. What has happened in the last few hours is truly outrageous. Schools that didn't open their doors until noon due to a lack of ballot boxes and electoral materials, and other centers completely closed by the OMP.
Imagine by noon the polls still hadn't opened. Unbelievable.
Thousands of people standing in line for hours just to be able to vote, and the only solution they've offered is to add 1 hour after taking away 7. I find the situation happening today in Peru outrageous and alarming, and once again the ones truly affected by this are the citizens. This situation is worrying, infuriating, and frightening because this situation is not normal. Voting is a fundamental right for all citizens, regardless of their color or social class, and it cannot be taken away from anyone in any way. From now on, I say no to this and I demand that elections be held under proper conditions and with enough material so that everyone can exercise their right to vote, because you can't play with people's votes.
Imagine this is happening in Peru. I'm telling you, people are very angry, very upset. Well, let's look at the results for now, because we have them right here, guys. Just look at this. Keiko Fujimori is winning, but watch out. Most likely there will be a runoff between Keiko Fujimori and whoever is in second place. Right now, that's Rafael Lopez Aliaga. This means that the left in Peru would be defeated, and that there would be 2 right-wing or so-called right-wing candidates. They would compete to become the next president of Peru. By the way, I'm going to give you some very good news. Do you remember Vladimir Cerrón, the boss, the leader, the master of Pedro Castillo from Peru Libre? Just look at how many votes he got. Let's see. Okay, he's not in the top 4. Okay, let's look at the next ones. Vladimir Cerrón isn't here either. Just look at that. Not here either. He's not there. Not among the top 12. By the way, Vladimir Cerrón is the #1 candidate of Chavismo. He's a fan of Hugo Chavez and Nicolás Maduro. Let's continue. Where is Vladimir Cerrón? Not among the top 16 either. What the hell? Where is this criminal? He doesn't appear among the top 20. Unbelievable. What happened to Vladimir Cerrón? Here he is, guys. I think it's number 23. In the in-person elections in Peru. Look at this. Vladimir Cerrón for now has gotten 45.44% of the votes. That is not even 1% of the votes in Peru. And let me remind you that in the elections a few years ago, I think it was in 2022 if I'm not mistaken, yes, in 2022, Keiko Fujimori ended up fighting against Pedro Castillo from Peru Libre, and Pedro Castillo won in the second round of the elections in Peru. The famous teacher who ended up, well, right now the guy is in prison because he's a criminal, he's a delinquent. But yes, I mean, Pedro Castillo had won, and today, 4 years later, this political party didn't even get 1% of the votes in Peru. And by the way, here Paul Rodriguez, a follower from Peru, shares the following with us. That's what the communists wanted to do in Peru during the presidential elections, to allegedly benefit themselves and harm their opponents. That's what he's telling us here. Operation Morrocoy is a fraudulent electoral tactic used in Venezuela, mainly attributed to Chavismo, which seeks to slow down or sabotage the voting process in centers or regions with strong opposition support. It is based on making the process as slow as a Morrocoy turtle to discourage participation and create long lines. Key details of Operation Morrocoy. What does it consist of? The number of polling stations is reduced, technical delays are caused, late opening, machine failures, power outages, and the time spent checking the poll book is extended. What is its objective? to tire out the opposition voter so they leave without voting and to increase the waiting time, often combined with the rapid transportation of government supporters to the centers. Synonyms. It is often known as Operation Turtle. Wow. In fact, it makes perfect sense because if we just look at the lines, here they tell us, long line to cast your vote, colleagues, dear viewers. A gigantic line. Look at this, guys, it's just totally crazy. No, look at the line, such a huge line. In the sun, with the heat, unbelievable. Where there are many people who are there, many people who are trying to vote, outraged, and also outraged, annoyed, tired, hungry, thirsty, sleepy, many even. Although I know that elections are usually on Sundays, many people have to go to work, they asked for permission and have to go back, and suddenly they find themselves with an endless line. It's normal for people to be fed up since we're on top of a hill on top of a hill. Just look, guys, at the conditions in which these people were outside the school. Yes, of course, outside a school, which we should remember is often used as a polling place. Guys, it's incredible what's happening in Peru, and in fact, right now they're telling us the following. More than 63,000 Peruvians were unable to vote in the 2026 elections according to reports. I imagine the Electoral Institute, well, no, but here they're telling us that first the authorities are investigating the causes of the delay and are evaluating possible measures for the affected voters, just as we've been told. They're apparently going to do something for these people, so they can vote this Monday. Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully they don't lose their right to vote regardless of their political ideology. They have the right to cast their vote and choose the candidate they like the most, whether it's from the left or the right. Well, they are within their rights, aren't they? Finally, even so, I tell you, for now, Keiko Fujimori is number 1 and Rafael Lopez Aliaga is in second place. Both would go to a runoff if this remains the case. So everything seems to indicate that yes, but well, Rafael Lopez Aliaga is in a somewhat difficult position, especially with this gentleman named Jorge Nieto Montesinos. I mean, they're pretty close, more or less. Lopez Aliaga does have a good lead, but hey, be careful. We'll see. Careful, this is important. It's not a minor issue because even though you see Keiko Fujimori as number 1 and the favorite, it turns out that I think these are her 4th elections, and in all of them, she has gone to a runoff. Second round, and in all of them, Keiko Fujimori has lost. Imagine why. Well, it's very simple. Keiko Fujimori is the daughter of Alberto Fujimori. For those who don't know, Alberto Fujimori was a ruler. We could practically say that he was a dictator in Peru, loved by many, hated by others. But make no mistake, those who hate him more than you can imagine. They have a brutal hatred for him. Alberto Fujimori. So she's Alberto Fujimori's daughter. Therefore, many people in Peru don't want her to win. So that's why it's very important to know who comes in second place. I hope it's Rafael Lopez Aliaga, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm telling you this, guys, because whoever goes to the second round against Keiko Fujimori has a high chance of winning. For me, they could even be the favorite. We'll see. Time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's hope everyone can vote and things go well. And that the elections are decided in Peru and that the best is chosen for the Peruvian people. Ladies and gentlemen, see you next time.